So the sense of seeking will never find. What it's looking for is already the case. It's already just simply this, what's simply appearing to happen. No matter what it looks like, feels like, appears as, it's all the same. It's all equal. And it's not good or bad. So, how can this sense of seeking find everything? That sense of seeking is this already. And this isn't a mental understanding. This can't be figured out in any way. These words are meaningless. There's no actual instruction here. How can you get to what already is? So that seeking never ends up finding. It never becomes complete. It never finally becomes fulfilled or satisfied. It can have a momentary sense or taste of it, but in a way, it's not really. Even though there's no time, that sense of seeking is time, is the next moment. And it it veils that this is already complete, already fulfilled. There is no need to satisfy because it's already satisfied. It's already just. Nothing being everything. Absolute perfection. So it's a little ironic because this can't be avoided. There is no escaping this because it's everything already. But this sense of seeking, the sense that feels like it's living in time, it's waiting for a next moment or a next experience, state, or feeling, something better, something other than this, that sense energetically veils that there's really nowhere to go, nowhere to get to. I'm not saying that movement doesn't happen. Everything appears. but no one is there. No one is there moving the body, making decisions, having preferences, getting angry, crying, laughing. It's all just spontaneously happening for no one. And everything's empty. Nothing's actually happening. No one's actually going anywhere. It's always this no matter what. So sometimes when the seeking and the suffering is really intense, there could be an extreme wanting to escape a certain situation. Even though nothing's happening and no one's there actually experiencing that, there's an understanding that it can feel really real. And for example, if there's a lot of anxiety in the body, there can be a reconditioning of gently coming back into the body rather than mentally worrying and trying to figure out how to get rid of whatever is here and thinking about a future event where I'm going to awaken or, this will no longer be. There is never a solution. From trying to mentally plan, it doesn't mean that practical things can't happen. Like things can be tried. There's nothing wrong with that. But ultimately, that intense need to have this not be what is what intensifies the seeking. It intensifies the suffering. So there's a recommendation to kind of recondition and to come back into the body, to gently feel the anxiety, even though no one is feeling it. And I say gently because sometimes there can be an intense not wanting a certain experience and trying to intensely feel everything in a forceful manner. And that can potentially really trigger the body, and it might not be ready for that. So that's why I say gently, because the body will tell you when it's too much. And also, whatever is appearing to happen is perfection. It is already this. There's an understanding that when that seeking energy is there, it will see things as a problem if they're interpreted as negative, if they feel uncomfortable. And so sometimes it can be helpful to listen to a message like this where there are no opposites, that nothing's actually wrong, nothing's actually right, but anything that's appearing is life appearing that way. It's absolute perfection, beyond understanding, beyond a knowing of what's happening, because it's not happening to anyone. When that sense is there, it feels like it knows what's happening and knows how to fix it. It knows that if only this would change, then my life and my experience would be better. So, again, practical things can happen. Taking certain medications, like it all obviously varies. But really, what really intensifies the needing this to not be this way, the fighting against what is this trying to escape the discomfort. And within the story, sometimes it is helpful to hear things like, you were never to blame for anything. There was never anyone there. The body was just conditioned the way it was conditioned. And if the body has a certain, let's say, response to extreme discomfort, then it's understandable why it would have that kind of response and reaction. It really is like if something shocking happened to an animal, the body might have a habitual way of reacting or responding to anything that reminds it of that immense discomfort or pain. And there's nothing wrong with that. The human body is just like any other living organism, and it picks up these habits. And it really doesn't say anything about you. No one is behind that. No one is owning that. No one is responsible for that. But when I say these kinds of things, the person might take it on and say, okay, then there's nothing to do. It's just what it is. But that's not really what's being said. The body can still do, it can still take action, it can respond accordingly. And no one would be doing that. That's why I say no one has responsibility, because even that sense of taking action based on what's appearing to happen, no one is responsible for that. It's just happening. Everything is all just happening on its own. So in the story, there can seem to be a lot of complexity in general. And when this message is heard, there can be a deep resonance. But if the story feels really real, there can still be talking about the conditioning and in a way trying to work through it, knowing that nothing is happening, no one is doing anything, no one is thinking, feeling, and owning the body. And in an ultimate sense, there is no wrong decision. There is no right decision. Like sometimes the sense of a me can feel sometimes paralyzed, not knowing what to do. Um, and in a way, it's so understandable that it would feel that way. It feels like it's making a decision and that it will, it's really important that I make the right decision. So that kind of heaviness comes with the sense of me, the sense of doership that feels like it's living a life, it has a life. But all of that is a dream. There's no one at the center of anything. There is no separate entity in the body. The body's doing everything on its own. So when there is no center, then the thinking, the speaking, the hearing, the seeing, it's not happening from somewhere. As a description, the body seems to have these kinds of functioning, but it's not coming from somewhere because there's just nowhere. There is no location. There is no here and there, a me and a you. This is absolutely boundless. It doesn't begin anywhere, it doesn't end anywhere. And so when we describe the seeing and what's being seen, there's no point from which it starts and ends. There's no center from which it's happening to. There's no entity that is seeing or hearing or speaking. It's absolutely empty. There's nothing behind it. It's coming from and is nothing. So when I say things like that, I would say more just listen with the body. Don't try and understand, don't try and figure out. Because this makes no sense. This isn't, you can't get this. You can't grasp it. You can't finally claim it. This is just an energetic disappearance. And it's just seen that it was never there in the first place. Nothing was actually happening because that energetic sense that owned and claimed everything just dissolves. And it's just a faint memory that has no power behind it anymore. So these descriptions aren't to intensify the seeking. It's just a description of this so called natural reality that's already the case. And within this natural reality, there's an appearance of this illusion, a sense of me. That is its entire individual world, personal world. And it's absolutely amazing that it can appear that way. It can seem so solid and real, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's perfection. It is this already. It's crazy.